Thomas Hearns had failed to conquer both Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvelous Marvin Hagler, so he decided to go about making history by doing something no one had ever done before: winning titles in 4 different weight classes. Having already won titles at welterweight and junior middleweight, in March of 1987, Hearns moved up to light heavyweight to challenge WBC champion Dennis Andrews in a one-sided bout which Hearns won by TKO in 10 rounds after knocking Andrews down 6 times. Just 7 months later, he moved down to middleweight to challenge Juan Roldan for the WBC middleweight title, which had been vacated by Sugar Ray Leonard after his surprise victory against Marvin Hagler. After 4 rounds, Hearns not only scored the knockout, but had secured a place in boxing history, becoming the first person to win titles in 4 different weight classes, a feat which even the legendary Henry Armstrong had tried but failed at achieving. It seemed that 1987 was the year that truly cemented the greatness of the Hitman. 1988 would be a completely different story. In his first defense of the middleweight title, Hearns was stopped by 4-1 underdog Iran Barkley in the 3rd round. Later that year, he would move up to super middleweight and fight James Kinchin for the vacant WBO super middleweight title. Despite being knocked down in the 4th round and showing vulnerability like never before, Hearns was able to earn a majority decision victory. He once again made history by winning a title in the 5th weight class, but many thought it was time for Hearns to hang up his gloves. Sugar Ray Leonard, on the other hand, was still seen by many to be at or near the top of his game. In 1987, after a 3-year layoff and 5 years removed from a championship-level fight, Leonard shocked the world with his 12-round decision over Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Despite announcing his retirement after the fight with Hagler, there were attempts to make a rematch, which failed. Leonard returned in 1988 to challenge Donnie Lalonde for the WBC light heavyweight title and the vacant WBC super middleweight title. Despite being knocked down in the 4th round, Leonard was able to rally and stop Lalonde in the 9th round. With this victory, Leonard became the 2nd person in boxing history to win titles in 5 different weight classes. Thomas Hearns had won his 5th title just 3 days prior. Leonard vacated the light heavyweight title and decided to continue his career at super middleweight. With these 2 men now holding a portion of the championship, it set the stage for a unification bout and a rematch that was 8 years in the making. The fight was once again to take place at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, though Leonard's camp had undergone some changes since 1981. Gone was longtime trainer Angelo Dundee, who had departed after the Hagler fight over a financial dispute, and in his place was new trainer Pepe Correa. Despite many seeing Hearns as past his best days, tickets for the rematch were the hottest commodity in the country. Though the super middleweight limit was 168 pounds, Ray Leonard had it written into the contracts that the fight would take place at a catchweight of 164 pounds and added a stipulation to penalize either fighter if they weighed more than that at the official weigh-in. In the press conferences in the days leading up to the fight, Hearns and trainer Emanuel Stewart hinted that Leonard might have been bulking up with steroids. And while Leonard may have been the focus due to his inactivity, steroid allegations, along with his relatively new and inexperienced corner, Thomas Hearns quickly found himself back in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons, when just 2 days before the fight, his younger brother Henry was arrested for the murder of his 19-year-old girlfriend. While Hearns insisted that this would not deviate his focus from the fight, Stewart and Kronk publicist Jackie Callan arranged for bodyguards to protect him from the oncoming media onslaught. According to promoter Bob Arum, Hearns had told him, "I've waited 8 years to knock out Sugar Ray Leonard, and nothing will deter me." Hearns weighed in at 162 pounds, and at 30 years old was coming in with a professional record of 46 wins, 3 defeats, and 38 KOs. Leonard weighed in at 160 pounds and entered the ring aged 33 with a professional record of 35 wins, 1 defeat, with 25 KOs. On his white trunks with red stripes was the word Amandala, a Zulu word which translated to power. The referee was Richard Steele, and the 3 judges scoring the contest would be Dalby Shirley, Tommy Kazmarek, and Jerry Roth. Round 1 begins with the 2 meeting in the center of the ring, Hearns firing off the first shot, a left jab. Throughout most of the first minute of the round, the action is being dictated by Thomas Hearns, who was just firing off jabs. Leonard wouldn't throw a punch until 50 seconds had gone by in the round. On ringside commentary, Marvelous Marvin Hagler noted that both of them were starting very cautiously, but believed that Leonard wanted to end it early and that they should expect anything in this fight. Halfway through the round, Hearns is continuing to dictate the action, and while Leonard is also throwing punches, they're few and far between as he's looking for an opening in his longer-armed opponent. Hearns is starting to let his right hand go more often, though those shots are to the body. With just over 50 seconds left in the round, Leonard misses with a big left hook, but then is able to score with a right hand. Hearns smiles and raises his gloves to let Leonard know that he's still there and that he's willing to take more. In the corner between rounds, Emmanuel Stewart was fanning Hearns down with a towel and encouraging him to keep pumping the jab, and that it would only be a matter of time before he landed a big right hand. In Ray Leonard's corner, Pepe Correa was telling him to keep feinting. Round 2 begins with more of the same, with a lot of boxing going on. Gil Clancy, working commentary with Tim Ryan and Marvin Hagler, noticed the similarity between what was going on here and their first fight, where Ray Leonard gave away most of the early rounds until he began fighting more flat-footed. The two are just trading jabs, and Leonard begins throwing more long shots to the body. With a minute and 42 seconds left in the round, Hearns tries to land a big right, but is caught with a jab from Leonard. Less than 30 seconds later, he tries again with a right hand, but just comes up short with it as Leonard moves his head back, but Gil Clancy notes that it got his attention. The bout is becoming very tactical, as both seem to be looking for just the right opportunities to land their big shots. In the final seconds of the round, Leonard unexpectedly switches to the southpaw stance, but quickly gets tagged for his trouble by a short right hand as the round comes to a close. Round 3 starts with more of the same with what we had seen in the previous 2 rounds. Leonard is using the ring effectively, but the long reach of Hearns is making it difficult to land punches, as he easily would hope to. Nonetheless, the intensity is still there as Hearns once again comes short with a right hand, but as Ray tries to land a combination, Hearns is able to beat him to the punch with a big right hand. Leonard smiles, but Hearns quickly throws another left hand that catches Leonard on the top of the head and sends him to the canvas. Leonard is up by the count of 5, but it's clear by the look on his face that this is not going to be an easy bout for him that many predicted. With less than a minute to go in the round, Hearns goes on the offensive, banging to the body while Leonard tries to get some distance between them and gather himself. As Hearns slows down, Leonard lands a right hand, but Hearns quickly fires back a left hook. Leonard fires some shots back, and Hearns does the same. As a bell rings to end the round, it almost looks like they're going to tap gloves as a sign of respect, but Richard Steele quickly gets between them, wanting to take no chances of punching after the bell. On the HBO broadcast, commentator and analyst Larry Merchant said that for 8 years Hearns had been plagued by a little monster since the first fight in 1981, but now Hearns was the one chasing the monster. Hearns comes out for round 4 seeming looser with the jab, firing it with more confidence, but Leonard is getting inside and landing punches to the body where he can. Hearns continues to jab, and Leonard goes for a big looping overhand right that just grazes Hearns, but Leonard is able to get in some scoring punches. With just over a minute left in the round, Leonard finds the right distance to get in a short right hand and then goes to the body of Hearns. He then follows up with a 1-2 combination, and Thomas fires back with a right of his own. He misses badly with a right hand, and by the end of the round, it looks like Leonard might be starting to get some of his confidence back. At the start of round 5, Leonard doesn't waste time, firing off a left hook, but Hearns is able to keep pumping the jab, keeping Leonard at distance. With 1 minute and 45 seconds left in the round, Leonard throws a left-right combination that gives him the space he needs to get inside and land a big left hook that sends Hearns wobbling into the ropes. Hearns ties up Leonard and gets a warning from Richard Steele, but from this point on, the whole round belongs to Sugar Ray Leonard. Hearns is not out of the bout, but it's clear he's in greater danger than he had Ray Leonard in back in round 3. With 30 seconds left in the round, Leonard's output drops a bit, but he is still landing big shots. However, despite these big shots, Hearns is still on his feet when the round ends. Leonard gives a punch to the body after the bell that looks part playful, but also like he was a bit frustrated about not being able to get his man out of there when he had him in big trouble. Between rounds, Hearns staggers back to his corner where Emmanuel Stewart is doing everything he can to keep him from being discouraged, telling him, "This is what'll make you great. This is what makes a great fighter." Hearns comes out for round 6, swinging his left arm back and forth before landing 2 jabs. Leonard is breathing a lot harder, and his output is significantly down early on in the round compared to how he finished the previous one. Hearns keeps firing the jab, and with 1:50 left in the round, Leonard swings and misses with a left hook. Gil Clancy at this point theorizes that Leonard's not throwing enough punches to win the round, only to get Hearns out of there, and that it could be costly. Not much happens for the rest of the round, as both are trying to get a second wind. Round 7 starts with both fighters showing more aggression than the previous round, and Hearns connects with a left hand that backs Leonard up and allows Hearns to go on the attack. On the ropes, Hearns is baiting both to the body and the head, and while Leonard is blocking and slipping some punches, he's also not firing back. Hearns' output then drops, giving Leonard an opportunity to get off his own jab, and he starts to become more active with less than 2 minutes to go in the round. Leonard fires off a 1-2 combination, but Hearns counterpunches with the right hand that backs Leonard off. With now less than a minute to go, Hearns' output drops, allowing Leonard to go to the body and the head of Thomas Hearns. The round ends with them being broken from a clinch and Tim Ryan admitting that it was a difficult round to score, as Hearns had a strong offense in the opening minute, but then allowed Leonard to get back in. Between rounds, Correa tells Leonard not to stand up so straight and to go to the body. In the Hearns corner, Emanuel Stewart is insistent that Hearns abandon the boxing and turn this into a physical fight. Through these 7 rounds, according to PunchStat, Leonard has landed 129 punches of the 318 he threw. Hearns had also thrown 318 punches, but had only landed 122. Round 8 opens with the 2 men trading jabs for most of the opening minute. Despite the insistence of his trainer, Hearns continues to box with Leonard, and with 1:15 left in the round, he throws a short right hand, backing Leonard up into the ropes, and Hearns gets slightly off balance as he follows him. At the 50-second mark, he lands another short right hand, keeping Leonard against the ropes, but again, he doesn't continue to throw punches, allowing Leonard to mount his own offense. Towards the end of the round, Hearns is warned for pushing Leonard, and as they break from a clinch, Leonard lands a small uppercut and grazes Hearns with a left hook at the bell. Both Marvin Hagler and Gil Clancy are left puzzled and almost a bit frustrated, while both men had each other in front of one another, but neither were throwing any punches. Round 9 again begins with them jabbing, and Hearns gets in a left hook, which Hagler believes he should be throwing more often. He lands a low blow and is warned by Richard Steele. Turnabout is quickly had by Ray Leonard, as he throws a low blow of his own a few moments later, which is also warned by Steele. With 1:30 left in the round, Leonard starts an attack to the body, working his way up to Hearns' head. On commentary, Hagler believes that the body attack has hurt Thomas, which is why his output may be going down. He then throws a left to the body and misses with a left hook. With 30 seconds left in the round, and almost at the urging of Hagler on commentary, who at this point has abandoned hiding his bias for Hearns, Thomas lands a right hand to the jaw of Leonard. It doesn't hurt him, though, as he's able to get back in with a short left hook that puts Hearns in the corner. Leonard tries capitalizing, but Hearns is able to tie him up before the bell rings. Not wanting to waste time, Leonard starts round 10 by rushing towards Hearns with a looping overhand right that misses, but he continues his attack, getting Hearns on the ropes briefly and wobbling him with a jab. He lands another left, but connects with the neck of Thomas Hearns. Despite not throwing punches, Hearns gets a mean look on his face that starts to back Leonard up ever so slightly, and the trading of jabs resumes. Both Hagler and Clancy admit that Hearns looks better when he's moving forward and throwing punches. With 45 seconds left in the round, Leonard throws 2 shots, which are both blocked, and Hearns comes back with a left hook. Leonard is able to get a left hook of his own inside near the end of the round, but it doesn't do anything to hurt Hearns. In the corner of Thomas Hearns between rounds 10 and 11, Emanuel Stewart is telling him that the crowd is begging him to throw the right hand, while in Leonard's corner, he is told that he has 6 minutes until the fight's over. Whether that was meant as a warning or not is unknown. Leonard comes out charging at such a quick pace at the start of round 11 that Richard Steele has to stop him because not all of Thomas Hearns' seconds were out of the corner. With 2 minutes and 15 seconds left in the round, Hearns puts his jab in Leonard's face and keeps it there as a rangefinder for his right hand that lands flush on Leonard's chin. He tries another right and a left hook, but both miss. Ray jabs back, but Hearns fires again with the right hand and left hook. He repeats it for a third time, and for the second time in the bout, Sugar Ray Leonard finds himself on the canvas. On the HBO broadcast, Larry Merchant remarked that Ray Leonard had a look on his face that he had never seen before. After Steele resumes the action, they trade left hooks, Hearns to the body, Leonard to the head. Leonard tries coming in with a right, but gets caught with a short right hand by Hearns, who seems to have finally found that second wind. With 50 seconds left, as Hearns goes to the body, Leonard begins firing back to the head and lands a good right hand of his own with less than 25 seconds to go. Despite Hearns' output beginning to fade near the end, they're both trading shots at the end of the 11th round. In the corner of Ray Leonard, Pepe Correa is frantic, telling him that he has to go for the knockout. According to the unofficial scores of both HBO and the closed-circuit broadcasts, Ray Leonard needs to knock it at this point if he wants to win. As they touch gloves to begin the 12th and final round, Ray Leonard gave his old rival a small smile. Perhaps a sign of acknowledgement that Hearns has exceeded everyone's expectations, but also a warning, like he hadn't won this fight yet. Hearns continues to pump his left jab and land the occasional right hand, and landing to the body as well, fighting like he's the one who needs the knockout. Leonard fights back, and with 2 minutes left in the round, Ray lands some hard shots that wobble Hearns, and Hearns begins to clinch. Leonard continues to rally, backing up Hearns, but Hearns continues to fight back with nothing left but his heart. With Hearns trapped in the corner, Ray Leonard looks like he's ready to make a repeat of 1981, but this time Hearns is holding on, something he didn't do in the first fight. With the referee trying to break them up, Leonard continues his assault, with Hearns occasionally punching back, but not much power on them. As Richard Steele breaks him for the final time, the bell rings, ending this war between Leonard and Hearns. Both raised their hands in the air, believing that they had done enough to win the bout, but would all be determined by the three judges. Tim Ryan and Gil Clancy both believed Hearns had done enough to win the bout, and HBO's Harold Letterman revealed his scorecard of 115-111 for Thomas Hearns. As Marvin Hagler began joking that a $20 million payday for a rematch between either Ray Leonard or Thomas Hearns might be enough to lure him out of retirement, Michael Buffer announced the score of the judges. Jerry Roth's score of 113-112 for Thomas Hearns was greeted to a loud ovation. Tommy Kaczmarek's score of 113-112 for Sugar Ray Leonard was met with a chorus of boos. But when Dalby Shirley's score of 112-112 was read, a collective groan seemed to echo throughout Caesar's Palace. The bout was a draw. Sugar Ray Leonard didn't end up losing, but Thomas Hearns hadn't won either. Despite the loud chants of bullshit now emanating from the crowd, Hearns continued to smile as he told Tim Ryan that despite his own thoughts that he had won the fight, he was pleased with his performance and couldn't say anything bad about Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard at that time said he didn't feel lucky to have gotten a draw because it was a close fight and that his rallies in the 5th and 12th rounds were what helped him persevere in the end. Despite many hoping for a third fight to take place in November of that year, it wasn't meant to be. Ray Leonard's next fight would be against Roberto Duran, which he won and was followed by another retirement. There were 2 more attempts to revive his career, but they weren't successful, and Leonard retired for good in 1997. Despite going into the fight seen as damaged goods, Hearns emerged probably more popular than he had ever been. 2 years after the bout, he beat the undefeated Virgil Hill to become WBA light heavyweight champion, but he lost the title in 1992 in a rematch with Iran Barkley. After seeming to retire in 2000, he had 2 more bouts in 2005 and 2006 before finally retiring for good. Despite a third fight not happening, Leonard and Hearns cemented themselves as one of the great rivalries in boxing, and their performance on June 12, 1989 solidified what Emanuel Stewart had told Thomas Hearns between rounds. This is what makes a great fighter. One final note. In the years since, Ray Leonard has been adamant in his view that Thomas Hearns did win this fight and deserved the victory. He may not have ever given Hearns a third fight, but perhaps the greatest tribute Sugar Ray Leonard could give the Hitman was that they were even.